we are here for Ashley's Heart Song. Thank you for joining us today. We have a really wonderful, wonderful message in store for you today. We have a beautiful, beautiful soul, Delena Watson, here with us to spend some time speaking about clarity through faith. And faith is a big topic, I believe, right now. And whenever you're watching this, doesn't really matter whether you're watching this live right now or whether you are watching the replay. Faith is such a big concept. It's a big deal. We must have faith in everything that we do, or otherwise we get lost. We get lost in the shuffle. And there is no better example of that, no better person who could bring this conversation to its fullest potential than Delena Watson. So let me introduce her, and then I will bring her up on the stage with me, so to speak. So Delena is a wife, mother, grandmother. She works as in a leadership role within the technology corporate sector. Delena is a corporate Christian speaker, published author, and founder of Reagan's Hope, and we will find out more about that. Pardon me. When asked what she is most proud of with her accomplishments, she will answer, my family. Delena enjoys speaking to audiences with various interests. Her speaking topics include overcoming adversity, leadership, various corporate topics, and the power of faith. Her book, Finding Hope During Uncertainty, was written to encourage others as they go through difficult times. Delena's inspiration comes from her own story and experiences, which she hopes will inspire others to not only endure, but embrace what they are going through. Delena and her husband, Dan, live in Texas and love spending time with their grandson, Ethan. Delena is also a fellow Win Win Women show host, and she will be launching her show coming soon. So hang tight for that. And after today's show, I know y'all will be going and looking her up on the Win Win Women TV network, because this is truly going to be inspirational. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show, Delena. I'm so happy to have you here. And you will probably need to unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. Welcome. I've enjoyed just getting to visit with you more and more, Ashley. You always bring so much joy. So thank you.
Oh, yes. Oh, what a pleasure. What a pleasure. So, Delena, what will your show be about when you get this launched?
My focus is really going to be just how we as women do life, right? We have so many opportunities as women, but there's so many things that get in the way, right, of just our day-to-day life. And so my show is really going to be about how to live out what God really has planned for us as women. So that's going to be the focus.
That's beautiful. So when we think about what God has planned for us, when I hear that statement, I just think, oh my gosh, it's almost like it makes you giddy. What does he have planned for me? And in that space of asking that question, we've got to have a lot of clarity. So how do we bring more clarity to our lives so that we can actually feel confident that we're on that path that was designed for us?
Mm-hmm. So I think really, again, to your point, when we start to look at that and think, what's my purpose, right? Who am I? What's my purpose? We get a little overwhelmed with those questions. And so for me, it's really looking at that clarity from today. What do I need to accomplish today? Versus now, we need all have long-term goals, right? There's nothing better than to have those goals set for us and how we plan those. But sometimes through distractions, we really miss what that clarity means today. So for me, the message is really, I love the word simplify, right? It's really simplifying our lives today. And if we do that, that clarity will come naturally, for sure.
What are ways that you found that you simplified your life in order to stay more streamlined and focused? How did you do that?
I think there's some practical tools. Obviously, for me personally, being a woman of faith, I have to start my day with that foundation, right? My husband and I were just talking about this the other day. We've gotten in such a bad habit, and I think a lot of us have. We have our cell phones on our nightstands. I wake up in the morning and I find myself, the first thing I do is I grab my cell phone and I look at my to-do list right off the bat. And when I do that, that sets the tone for the rest of my day. It's going to be fast and furious because I've started out with that to-do list, right, of what all I've got to accomplish. But what I have found is if I stop and pause, spend time in God's word, spend time in prayer, meditation, build that foundation right off the bat, that's going to set the rest of the day. So that's really the first thing. And then it's really looking at what to accomplish in today as far as just those day-to-day things. And it's an ongoing deal, right? We have to redirect, refocus all day long what we need to accomplish. But if we're staying grounded, those things will just come naturally, for sure.
I love that. And I love the concept of us being grounded because you're right.
Mhm.
As we go through the day,
Yeah.
I'll be real honest. There are times when I'm working at my desk and I think, wait a minute, I think I just squirreled. I squirreled away from the task that I needed to do during this quadrant of time. What
Yeah,
happened?
I think we all do that. And so sometimes, I find myself just going and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. My clarity's not there, right? So I have to stop. And what's really interesting, I'll close my eyes and I find myself, the first thing I think about a lot of times is a river, right? And when I do that, initially that river is flowing. It is going fast and furious. It's white capping. All you hear is the roaring of the water. And if I will stop, close my eyes, pause for 3 minutes at the most, right? By the time that 3 minutes is up and I have just reflected, listened to what God has to say to me, that river then becomes just a slow pace flowing river. I can hear the water just flowing real simple. And I can probably even hear the birds, chirping in the background. But when I do that and then I open my eyes, I'm like, okay, now I've got some clarity to finish what I needed to accomplish for the day. So it's little tricks like that I think we really have to look at to get through the day.
That is a brilliant tool.
Yeah.
That is so brilliant. When you were describing it, I could
Yes.
see myself going in that space and seeing
Hmm.
the rocky
Hmm.
water, but
Right.
then going, the longer you're there with your breath centered and focused on the river.
Hmm.
And of course, so what do?
Absolutely.
You align with all that you are intended to be and provide while you're here on earth, and you become
Mhm.
that still water.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I
Yeah,
am gonna use
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think there's definitely, things throughout the day, and throughout the week that we really look at. I think a lot of times when we're trying to look for that clarity, we really get focused on, I think, more like confusion, distractions, right? And we look at some disorganization in our lives. And so I think through the day, we've got to look at what is causing the confusion, right? What are the things that we need to do to clarify that? And I think part of that is really resetting our priorities for the day, because those priorities are what's going to help us get that clarity to accomplish our purpose in life down the road, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Asking when you are in that confused
Right.
state,
Mm-hmm.
just being with the confused state and wondering, okay, let's
Yeah, yeah. I
what
think sometimes we look at that it is more of a negative, mentally, it's a little bit of a negative, and so we have to change that mindset to, okay, how do we make that confusion a positive? What do we need to do? How do we solve that, right? And I think a lot of it is just setting those, redirecting our priorities. From a faith perspective, how we get through those things is really, I had to learn, it was about trusting, right? It was about trusting God. in that clarity. You mentioned Reagan, and Reagan was born with some medical challenges. And at the age of 7, we were told to say our goodbyes, that she was not going to survive. And I went out into the waiting area to tell the grandparents. We only had a few hours left with her, and to come back in and be a family with her. And at that point, I had to just spend some alone time with God right off the bat, before I went back in. And if you've never heard God speak to you, it's a powerful moment. And God really, at that point, He asked me, whether Reagan lives or dies and comes to be with me, what are you going to do with your life? And that was the turning point for me, because I think as a mom, we're always focused on our children, whether they have a health issue or whether they're healthy. You're focused, right? And you lose sight of who we are as women sometimes, And so we have to look back and go, wait a minute, I gotta find out who I am. What's my purpose? Particularly when those children grow up, right? Or we're at a retirement age and we start asking ourselves, what's our purpose? And so for me, it was really turning back to the basics of my growing up, and realizing that I needed to focus on God. I needed to trust Him with that clarity. And once I did that, that's where those confusion and that distraction and the things that were so disorganized in my life, they started just falling in place. Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Delena, to hear that when your child was in that situation, but also at that age, because how many times have you heard women say, I will tend to me in my life when my kids graduate. My life will begin when they graduate.
Absolutely.
But you got the message way before that, that no, 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 no.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
created you for something special.
Right. Well, and not to digest from clarity, but part of what I learned in that moment, I had really been trying to do everything on my own. I had been told so many times how strong I was, because I had endured those 7 years, with her. And I really kind of felt like I was just the strongest person on earth, And so that was really the turning point of not only just relying on Him, but realizing that He gave me Reagan to make me stronger. It wasn't that I was already strong. He did that to really incorporate my strength, and to give me that clarity of what I needed to do in life. Now, it's an ongoing battle, ladies. I mean, we all struggle, right? We all struggle on a day-to-day basis of what do I need to get accomplished today, right? I think I make it sound like it's really simple, right? Oh, just simplify. It's not. I mean, it's an ongoing everyday battle for all of us.
It's that action that we have to take, the intention,
Absolutely.
and then the action, right? It's constant, because we are flawed beings. We are perfection, but we are flawed.
Right.
And we have the tendency to get squirreled.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, we've got to really look at what's cluttering in our lives, right? For me, and it's a physical as well as mental, right? For me, if my home is not in order, I do not have clarity. And we joke in our house, my girls would, growing up, I would come home from work and they would have moved something in the house, just to see how long is it going to take mom to notice that something's been moved. And just last week, my husband, I had a tin that had pecans and different nuts in it, and we had finished it and it was sitting on the counter. And I walked into the kitchen that morning, and my eyes went immediately up to the refrigerator, the shelf over the refrigerator, and he had put the tin up there. And my eyes just went straight to it when I walked in the kitchen, because I knew that's not where that tin belonged, right? And so for me, Personally, it's about making sure everything's in order. And I think for us, we have to look at what do we need to remove out of our lives, whether it's mental, whether it's physically cleaning something, your workspace. Maybe it's as simple as just cleaning your workspace to clear that so that you can have that clarity. I think that's another tool that we really have to look at.
Yes. Do you work with people on how to clean those spaces? Do you have a
I think it's more for me, it's more of how to clean that mentally than it is physically, just really how to get through and really clear things. One of the other things is really removing, sometimes it's boundaries, right? Sometimes it's actually removing someone, not so close into your circle because maybe it's negativity, they're not good for you, they're not giving you that sound advice. And so I do talk a lot about that as well.
yes, the boundaries with people. That
Hmm.
is probably, I see it in my line of work. It's one of the biggest energy drainers
Yes.
is because the non-boundaries with people.
Right.
And
Right.
people not knowing how to set that up. Aren't you just supposed to be open?
Right. 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 I know. I know. It's such a struggle, especially if they're a family member. That's a real struggle because there's a difference in loving someone and showing God's love, but you still have to set those boundaries for yourself, right? And maybe it's not a negative. It could also be that you've got to make sure that you're surrounding yourself by women and others that believe in what your clarity is. What are your goals, right? You want someone that's going to empower you and not compete or pull you down or say, oh, you don't need to have that, in your life. You want to have the people in your life that are rising you, helping you be successful. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Surround yourself with those people that lift
Right.
you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Did you find in your journey around that time that you received the message from God, and did you find that there were that this instance came up that you found that, oh, there are areas of my life where I need to set stronger boundaries in order to rise and be that person that God created?
Absolutely. 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 And it's amazing that when you start to look at that, and again, it's simplify. I can't stress that enough. It's simplify. Don't try to obtain that clarity for those long-term, goals. Because if you're going to try to get the clarity to get through today, those long-term goals are going to happen, right? And so for me, it was really what's in my life today that I really need to make that change in order to be able to see what God's purpose really is for me. And once I started doing that, it was amazing the struggles. Reagan and I, part of our stories, and it's interesting to hear both of us tell our journey because from a mother's perspective and a child's perspective, right? They're very interesting. But one of the things was, um, at that point I was a single mom, right? And trying to work, being in the hospital day in and day out with Reagan. We ended up having, a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter to last for the week. She loved it. She thought it was great having peanut butter sandwiches every day. As a mother, I would go to bed crying at night because that's all I had for her, right? But as I started focusing on that clarity, what were the changes? Some of them were very small, little a shift here and there, right? Some of it was, okay, if I shifted this 10 minutes out of my day, if I started my day, like I said earlier, with God first, it was amazing how the financial struggles started to decrease. I would get a check, for refund for something that was the exact dollar amount of what I owed for rent, or things like that happened day in and day out. But it was really because I was focusing on today.
Mm.
What did I need to get through today?
That is a beautiful lesson right there.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
it really is about today. It's not
yeah,
about tomorrow. It's not about
right,
6 months from
right.
now, but it is about today. That's the
Yeah.
whole message of our life, I think.
I think so too. I think so too. And again, I think we have to have those goals, right? Those long-term goals. But to have those long-term goals, you got to set those small goals in order to reach them, right?
Amen.
And so many times, if we don't have that clarity and that direction from day to day, we're not we can't accomplish them for sure.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah. And then I think a couple of other just real practical is really just having a routine, daily routine, that structure. And then I'm really bad at this one, but exercise. I'm really bad at exercise. I need to practice what I preach, right? But exercise and just getting a good night's rest, just taking care of our bodies is a big thing that we have to look at as well.
Yes, I agree. And I believe that clarity comes with that good night's sleep, what you were,
Absolutely. Yeah.
our physical body, God made it to be aligned with the sun. And
Right.
we have that rhythm, and everything in our body is operates off that 24-hour clock. So if
Yes.
we don't get our sleep, then we are not going to be clear the next morning. Our brain is going to have a lot of sludge in it. So
Right.
yes,
Right.
I'm with you. The
And
exercise.
eating healthier. We you mentioned we have a nonprofit, and we tell our mothers particularly, you find yourself at the hospital and you're eating from the vending machine day in and day out. You cannot make good decisions if your body is not being filled with good nutrients, right? And so I think that, again is one of the things we have to have in order to have that clarity for sure.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Delena, tell us a little bit about Reagan's Hope.
So Reagan's Hope is a nonprofit. We started it about 15 years ago. We support families that have children with medical issues, just depending on what that need is. We're very specific to the family itself and what the dynamics is and what the needs are. It could be as simple as, I know this morning one of our volunteers sent a DoorDash gift card to a mother at the hospital that needed dinner tonight, so it could be something very simple as that. It could be now we're back making some hospital visits. We haven't been able to do that with COVID, for a while, but we were able to do that. It could be helping a mother get back into the corporate world after, being home for several years with her child. Now, maybe the child's health is back to where it needs to be. Mom's ready to go back to work, right? So it could be helping with interviewing, getting clothing for work, things like that. It's really day to day what they may need. And then we do some practical things through the year. We do back to school. We just finished doing backpacks, school supplies. Thanksgiving, we do a Christmas adoption, Easter baskets. So there's a lot that we do for the families ongoing. Yeah.
So how would people get involved with Reagan's Hope? It sounds like you had just said hospital visits. So is this just you and your team that do the hospital
We
visits, or is
have
it?
no, we have so we are a global nonprofit. We have volunteers all over the country. Here in the US is primarily where we are. And so you can go to our website, which is reaganshope.com. That's RAGANSHOPE. You can sign up. It's really about what time you have. A lot of times it may be just making a phone call and checking on a mom. We send out emails on a daily basis. Here's a need. Can anyone, deliver a meal? Can someone go make a hospital visit? Can someone write a card? So we have various teams that people can join, and then it's as your time is permitted. So
How beautiful.
yeah, we really made it to where it's not a set, you have to volunteer once a month on a Saturday from, 8 to noon. That's not what it is. It's a daily or weekly ask, and you just say, "Hey, I can fit that in. Let me do that." Or yeah, so it really works around you as a volunteer, your schedule.
So anyone, because listening to the show, we have people all around, right? And so when they sign up, I'm just wondering if I am understanding. When they sign up, they're assigned like a region or whatever.
Yes. Hmm.
And then the person in that region sends out the emails to
Right.
them where the help is needed.
Correct.
The
Yeah.
lady, what
And
a
we average around 1,500 families annually that we support. So
wow.
it's a very, and everyone is volunteer. There's no paid employees. So it's a volunteer driven organization. So
Wow.
yeah.
That right there, you listened.
I did listen.
You
I
listened.
did. And I have been very blessed to have a wonderful leadership team that, again, it goes back to having those people, surrounding yourself with people that are like minded, right? You've got to have people that, are like minded with you, equally, in tune with everything you're trying to accomplish, and really see that vision and share it, with you to get through it. So, very blessed to have that group with me for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 Is there anything else you want to speak to around clarity and around the clarity and faith specifically? Is
Mhm.
there anything that you would?
I think if I couldn't stress anything more, it's really just starting your day with God. I really think that's the foundation. Spend time in His Word. Get to know Him. It's just like if you don't have a relationship with Him, it's just like a friendship. The more time you spend with Him, the more you're going to know Him, and then the more you're going to hear the direction that He has for you.
So, what about those people that are going, okay, I want to start doing that, but I really don't know how? What does that look like? Could
Mhm.
you like map out a 3 step? Like, what would they do from start to finish?
Oh
If
my goodness, there's so many great resources. I think first and foremost is getting in that routine of every morning, just stopping. I would say just stop and say a sentence. I'll call them popcorn prayers, right? You don't have to, spend 10, 15 minutes praying. It could be a short little sentence. God, I need you today. I need that clarity today. And if you're not used to having those type of prayers with Him, just do a short, prayer like that. And then I would say there's great apps on the phone if you want to see where to start reading in God's Word. There's several apps that you can, look up, and it's going to give you some reading tools and direction there. And then I think finding someone to really help you with that accountability, right? It's so important to have that accountability from a day-to-day basis. It's so easy, and I tell people, I would say, God, I just need my day to start 30 minutes earlier. Have me wake up 30 minutes earlier, right? So I could spend a little more time with Him. Well, He was very faithful in waking me up 30 minutes earlier. But was I faithful in getting up to spend the time, right? So it's that accountability that we have to really look at.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Lisa,
Yeah.
that's so funny you bring that up because just like a couple of days ago, I
Yeah.
had asked, please, just wake me up 30 minutes earlier so I have a little bit more time. And sure enough, I was awakened, but I didn't get up. And when I woke up, the first things came out of my mouth was, I am so sorry I did not listen. I'm so sorry.
We're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of it.
So fun.
Mhm.
I know we are so human.
Yes, we are.
We are human. Oh, Delena, what a privilege this has been to have you on the show today. I am just so grateful for you and all the work you're doing with Reagan's Hope, with everything that you've done with your business. We didn't really get to your business and what you do and how you help with leadership. I think that's a huge thing with women in business.
Mhm.
Like, you know what? Before we go, let's just go there real quick.
Mhm.
You teach leadership skills, right, for women
I
in business?
do. I do. And I have, depending on the audience or depending on the individual, that leadership skills can be biblically based. God's got great tools for us. I mean, think about Him taking, 12 individual men, His disciples, that come from all different walks of life, and He pulled them together as a team, right? That's how we can look at it as a leader in our roles in the business profession of how can we take our team that are all walks of life, pull them together and be successful. So I can either, work on that with individuals or a group. based on biblical or just on a corporate level, how to build those teams.
Oh, that's beautiful. And then on your show, when you are launched, you will be
Mhm.
speaking towards leadership. Won't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great. Thank you for going over that. I knew that there was one other thing I wanted us to cover today.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ashley. I really appreciate it.
You bet. My pleasure. My pleasure. Y'all, this has been Ashley's Heart Song on the Win Win Women TV network. Be sure and join us next week and every week after that as we continue to armor up our lives. Thanks for joining us.